The idea of living in the now sounds simple enough, a common piece of advice for stress reduction and mindfulness. But what exactly is this now we're constantly urged to inhabit? Is it a fixed point in time, a measurable unit, or something far more nebulous and subjective? If we break down time into smaller and smaller increments, we eventually hit a limit where now seems to vanish. Consider a single second. Within that second, countless events unfold. Our brains process vast amounts of information, and the physical world continues its relentless motion. Is the now the entire second, or a fraction of it? The very act of perceiving something, of registering an event, involves a delay. Light takes time to reach our eyes, sound takes time to reach our ears, and our brains take time to process these signals. By the time we consciously experience something, it has, in a very real sense, already happened. This tiny, almost imperceptible lag means our present is always, technically, a fraction of a second in the past. It's like chasing a receding horizon. The closer you think you get, the more it seems to move away. This inherent delay isn't just a philosophical quirk, it's a fundamental aspect of how our brains and bodies interact with the world around us. Our perception isn't a live feed, but a constantly updated, slightly delayed interpretation. This raises a profound question. If our present is always a little bit behind, can we ever truly catch up to the now as it's happening? Our brain doesn't just passively receive information, it actively constructs our reality, including our sense of time. It takes disparate sensory inputs and weaves them into a coherent narrative, making sense of the world. This narrative isn't always perfectly synchronized. For instance, when you watch a distant lightning strike, you see the flash before you hear the thunder, even though both events occurred simultaneously. Your brain then retrospectively adjusts, often making it feel like they happened closer together or even at the same moment in your conscious experience. This phenomenon, known as temporal binding, highlights the brain's role as a master editor of reality. It's constantly creating a cohesive story from fragmented data. This active construction means our perception of the present isn't a direct window to reality, but rather a curated experience, a mental construct designed for our survival and understanding. Think of it like a movie director taking multiple takes and then editing them into a smooth, flowing scene. The individual takes might be slightly off, but the final product feels perfectly synchronized. Our brain performs this editing in real time, all the time, to give us a stable and predictable world. Without this, our experiences would be a chaotic jumble of sensory input. This editing extends to our sense of self. Our continuous stream of consciousness, our feeling of being me from one moment to the next, is also a narrative constructed by the brain, providing continuity even as our physical and mental states constantly change. This internal narrator constantly stitches together our past memories, present perceptions, and future expectations, all within the fluid boundaries of what we call now. It's a remarkable feat of cognitive engineering, but it also means our present moment is always filtered through layers of interpretation. Physicists often talk about the arrow of time, the undeniable directionality of time moving from past to future. Yet at the fundamental level of physics, many equations are time-symmetric, meaning they work just as well if time flows backward. It's primarily in thermodynamics, with the concept of entropy always increasing, that time's arrow becomes apparent. Order tends towards disorder, coffee cools, and buildings crumble. These processes define our experience of time moving forward. But this macroscopic view doesn't fully explain our subjective sense of time. We remember the past, anticipate the future, but we only ever experience the present. Is this present a point, a duration, or an illusion? Some theories propose that the past, present, and future all exist simultaneously in a block universe model. In this view, our perception of time passing is merely our consciousness moving through this fixed four-dimensional space-time block, much like a spotlight moving across a landscape. If this is the case, then the present moment isn't unique or privileged, it's just where our subjective experience happens to be at any given point in the block. This challenges our intuitive understanding of time as a flowing river, instead picturing it as a frozen ocean. The feeling of time passing, of one moment becoming the next, would then be an emergent property of our consciousness interacting with this static reality, rather than an intrinsic feature of time itself. Our intense focus on the now might be less about capturing an objective reality and more about how our minds navigate this vast, unchanging temporal landscape. It suggests that the present is more of a mental construct, a necessary framework for our consciousness to operate within, rather than a fundamental slice of reality. Our ability to experience a coherent present is deeply intertwined with our memory and our capacity for anticipation. We don't just perceive individual snapshots of reality, we string them together into a continuous experience. This is where the concept of the specious present comes into play, a term coined by E.R. Clay and popularized by William James. The specious present isn't an infinitely thin slice of time, but rather a short duration, a span during which we feel directly aware of events as now. It's a small temporal window that includes both very recent past and immediate future. Think of listening to a melody. You need to remember the previous notes to understand the current one and anticipate the next. If your present was just a single, isolated instant, music would be a meaningless series of individual sounds. This temporal window, though brief, allows for continuity and meaning in our experiences. It's the psychological now, where we integrate information. This specious present varies in duration, depending on the task and individual. For a musician, it might be a few seconds. For a fighter pilot, it could be fractions of a second. It's a flexible mental construct that enables us to navigate and interact with a dynamic world. However, this also means our present is always a blend of memory and expectation, never purely an objective, unadulterated now. Our brain is constantly predicting the immediate future based on past experiences and current sensory input, a process essential for smooth motor control and cognitive function. This predictive coding means our perception of the present is already colored by what we expect to happen. We don't just react to the world, we anticipate it, and this anticipation is built into our very experience of the now. Trying to shed all memory and anticipation to experience a pure present might render the world unintelligible. Perhaps the truest present is this rich, complex tapestry woven from our past, present, and future, rather than an isolated, unreachable point. If our present is always a reconstruction, a delayed and edited version of reality, then can we ever truly access a raw, unfiltered now? Consider the sheer volume of information our senses are constantly bombarded with. Our eyes alone send millions of bits of data to our brain every second. Our brain, being efficient, filters out most of it, only allowing a fraction to reach conscious awareness. This means our present is inherently limited by what our brain deems important enough to process consciously. We're only ever aware of a tiny sliver of the actual objective now. This selective attention is a survival mechanism, preventing us from being overwhelmed, but it also means our perceived present is far from complete. Furthermore, our internal states, our emotions, our thoughts, our physical sensations constantly color our experience of time. A moment of intense joy can feel fleeting, while a moment of boredom can stretch on indefinitely. Our subjective experience of the present is not a fixed unit, but a fluid, emotional landscape. This means the present moment isn't just an external reality we perceive, but also an internal state we inhabit. It's shaped as much by our inner world as by the outer one. This introspection reveals a profound paradox. The more we try to grasp the present as an objective point, the more it seems to dissolve into a complex interplay of perception, memory, and subjective experience. Perhaps the quest to fully experience the present moment is not about finding a singular objective now, but rather about acknowledging the intricate, multi-layered nature of our temporal experience. It might be less about stripping away everything but the now, and more about understanding how our past and future are inextricably woven into our every perceived instant. To truly live in the present might mean embracing this inherent complexity rather than fighting against it. Ultimately, the present moment might be less of a fixed point we can occupy and more of a continually constructed horizon that recedes as we approach it. Our consciousness is not a static observer, but an active participant, constantly building and rebuilding our sense of reality. This construction involves not only sensory input, but also our personal history, our expectations, and our very biological wiring. The brain constantly predicts what will happen next, creating a simulated future that helps us navigate the world smoothly. This predictive capacity blurs the line between past, present, and future within our immediate awareness. When we reach for a cup, our brain has already calculated its trajectory and anticipated the sensation of touching it. This means our present is always tinged with anticipation. Furthermore, our understanding of now is culturally and linguistically shaped. Different languages have varying ways of expressing time, which can subtly influence how speakers perceive and experience the present. The very words we use to describe time can frame our subjective reality. So, the quest to experience the present moment fully may not be about isolating an objective atomic now, but rather about deepening our awareness of the rich, complex, and always in flux interplay of our internal and external worlds that constitutes our subjective present. It's about recognizing the intricate dance between memory, anticipation, perception, and consciousness that gives rise to our sense of being here now. Perhaps the most present we can ever be is to fully immerse ourselves in this dynamic process, to observe the continuous unfolding of our experience, acknowledging its inherent constructed and slightly delayed nature. It's not about finding a destination, but understanding the journey. To truly grasp the present might mean accepting that it's less of a solid state and more of a fluid, ever-changing process, an ongoing act of creation by our minds.